Hey everyone, welcome to the unscripted part of my Scripted Unscripted podcast. My name is Nadia Tabbara, and today I'm going to chat with thought leaders and all around cool people about their quest to live a fulfilling life. Each unscripted episode relates back to the scripted one, so make sure you tune into both. So, Patrick, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming today. Okay, Patrick, this is how I always describe you for anyone who meets you. I say Patrick is my good friend. He's an actor for theater and film, also a director of film and theater, also a producer of film and theater, also, a consultant of film and theater. I mean, everything film and theater. That's how I introduce you. That's how I know you. And then there's also this other side of you. So I wanted you to introduce yourself to us.
Well, let me fill the gaps, as they say. I'm a technologist. I'm a graduate in computer science. I also hold an MBA. I did my early career working in telecom, in computer related, mostly web development for telecom and telecom services. So I worked with the public telephone company here, Ojero, for years, and then I switched to the mobile telephone company for another year. So I had like a stretch of 13 years working as a technologist, pure hands-on programming, stuff like that, managing a team of programmers.
And at that time, in this 13 years of doing whatever you just said you did, which sounds really intricate and awesome, but when you were doing that, were you in the arts at all?
Not one bit. Well, I was slightly in the sidelines of the art while I was back in university because I worked part-time as a DJ at a radio station. So like when I was in university, I used to have a side job DJing at a radio station, the French section of what was Radio 1 here.
Cool. You do have a radio voice.
Yeah, but I never got to use the microphone. I was just DJing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but having a radio voice is better than having a radio face.
Amen to that. Okay, so then at the 13 years of doing telecom and this kind of technology stuff, what happened after that? Now I introduce you as an actor and a writer and a producer. So how do we get from there to today?
Well, not a straight line, because after 13 years working in telcos, I said, like, I want to have my own business. I don't want to be employed anymore. So that opened up a bit more of time flexibility, because when you don't have a 9 to 5 job, you get to do stuff that, on your own pace a bit more. Although having an entrepreneurship approach to business, like when starting your own business, is time consuming in itself, but it does give you a bit of flexibility around that. So I had been doing my own business. I had opened my own business for 5 years, probably around that, 4 to 5 years, when I ran into someone I knew from the art area or circles, and they were doing a acting workshop. And I initially was a consumer, a big consumer of the arts, of film, television, theater a bit less, but I also did watch that. And I was like, okay, my techie side, where I always had this as a kid. Even when I used to get a toy, I used to, take it apart to see how it works. So maybe that side of me took over, and I said, maybe I'll go to this workshop and I'll see how they do it on the other side, because I'm used to seeing it as a spectator, as somebody who watches a film or a show. So I want to see how do they do it on the other side, how that person becomes someone else for the duration of the show. And I just got the bug. It was like, it was theater based, so I loved it. I loved the stage. I loved the, having that presence and, channeling yourself into something else. Even the basics, the stuff of voice and presence. I was already teaching for a while. I had been teaching since I graduated. I did teaching several technical material, and I had been teaching at university, where I stayed for 11 years. I just stopped. This is the last year I was teaching at university. I just stopped that. So I figured maybe if it doesn't help me, I'm not going to do. I didn't take myself any bit seriously that I'm going to become an actor. So I said, if this doesn't help in any way, it doesn't bring anything, any added value, it's just going to help me be a better presenter, a better facilitator, a teacher.
I like how you had to rationalize your passion in order to move forward. So what I'm hearing from you, Patrick, which is so funny because everyone has their own path. So some people, for instance, have been in, like you, in computer science or in any kind of field that doesn't particularly have the arts, but they've always known they wanted to do this. They wanted to act, they wanted to write, they wanted to be a filmmaker. They've always known, but they carry it with them and they're frustrated and they just don't know how to break that wall. Whereas you, it was sort of the opposite. You were like, okay, I'm living my life. I've got my job and I'm interested in this. And then it was a passion. Both of these different types of ways of arriving at what it is that you want or our passions, I find with a lot of people. Some are obsessed from the very beginning. Some become obsessed later on. And then both have the same struggle of, well, how do I break in? So I like that you broke in by rationalizing and saying, well, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is I become better at public speaking.
Yeah. I mean, I think because growing up, we grew up in the middle of the war. My dad's business took a hit. We were basically making ends meet. So academics was the priorities. Like it's a way out of not getting stuck in low income type of life where you just have to push it every day. So like I have to be serious, I have to get a well-paying job, and I was good at it. I mean, I was good at science. I was an A student at school. Only at university when I started, like maybe academics is like too serious in some areas. I remember like one incident, which is like this would illustrate the point very well. When I went to engineering school, and one time I was going up with some friends to the university, and at the entrance of the, just before getting there of the street, there was the sign with the first Jurassic Park movie poster that had just come out at the cinema.
Yes.
And I go like, oh, Jurassic Park is out. We got to see it. And the guy driving goes like, really, you're going to waste your time go watching this movie? Might as well prepare some stuff for the exam. And this was the clear the divergence, excuse me, between the way I thought and the way they thought. Um, I was good at science and math, probably because my brain is built that way, so I can tackle it. But I was not interested in. I didn't have the passion for that. Like, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't want to just do that. It just doesn't drive me anymore to do just that. I like the other stuff also.
And hey, some people's passion is academia and it is very creative for sure. But like you said, I think there are small hints within our life that we say, that we think, oh, this might be my passion. At the same time, I think what you said about being a child of war, but I think all of us, many, many generations are facing this societal pressure or pressure from your parents. And the parents, I think there's an extreme that says, oh, watching Jurassic Park is a waste of time, versus watch Jurassic Park as long as you are also okay with your exams. And sometimes that's, I believe, what we're missing. I think we have very much extremes. And so it does make sense to say, all right, I need to make a living. And I think somehow you found that where you get to make a living doing your job, and you have made it so that there's enough time to pursue your passion.
Ironically enough, talking about the parents thing, my mom used to always joke around because I used to clown around the house, not so much in public. And I mean, not at university. I mean, my inner circle's friends, yes, of course. But I mean, I'm not the joker or the entertainer by excellence when I'm around people. And my introverted side takes over. So I'm usually an observer. And this has come in handy later because I observe a lot. But clowning around the house, like I would do voices. I would like even reading my school textbooks out loud in a different tone, imitating something else. And my mom would say, like, just go be an actor, won't you? And she knew I'm not going to do this, but this was a recurrent sentence line she would throw at me. And when I eventually did, and she got to see me like a couple of times on stage, it's like, okay, happy now. I ended up being an actor.
Oh, that must have been amazing for her and for you
Yeah, yeah.
to finally see you on stage.
She came to see me in an amateur play, like the one I did after the workshop, and still I could see her smiling, like, yeah, okay, see, I see what you did there. So yeah, that was a nice moment to have, and she got to see me in Awake, right?
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
It's a TV show, right? It's a TV series.
very well
Yes.
written, actually.
Thank you. If you guys don't know, we're talking about my series, Awake. And at the time, I did not know that you were a first time actor. I thought you were cast and all of that. So Patrick got to play a smaller role, a secondary role, but you did get to play across from Tadia in a few scenes, and he's a fantastic actor who had a little bit more experience than you did, so that must have been cool. But I did not know. I did not think that when I saw you up there, that you're up there, up there on our movie set stage, that you were a first time actor.
Not only I was a first time actor in a commercial series, it was a first time acting in front of a camera. I had
Yeah.
never done that. I had done maybe a bit of theater, but and you have no idea how stressed I was and how prepared I was. Like I knew my lines, Tariq's lines, everybody's lines.
That was kind of my follow up question. I mean, we've talked about a lot so far about societal pressure, which is something that really, I don't know. I always joke about my son. He's 2.5 now, and I joke about how if he doesn't pick something in the arts, that I will be like so appalled and no, La, no, how can you? What am I going to tell the family that he went into engineering or business or whatever? I always joke about that because it's a way of coping with all the societal pressure that we all had from our families as well. Get a job, make some money, make sure you live well, make sure you're making ends meet, and more than that, more than making ends meet. So we talked a little bit about that, and we talked a little bit about how a little bit, I think we touched on how you entered, especially that you took a workshop and found your passion. And because you're Patrick and other people are different than you, because you're Patrick, you rationalized it and said that what's the worst that could happen? I could use it for my, so you could use it for my career. Being an actor means I could public speak better. Then you took this play, this little show called Awake. What happened after that? Was there so my question for you is more like, was there a moment where you said, no, this isn't just helping my public speaking for my actual job? I mean, I don't know if you can even identify it because these things don't happen as goalposts, but how did you, I want to know more about your acting, writing, directing, producing journey.
It involved a mix of a bit more rationalizing and a bit more of passion and feeling it. So on one hand, I rationalized that I had done a few workshops. Like by the time I did Awake, I had met Sandrine, who got me on the project during another workshop, an improv workshop. So I'd done the classical theater, improv, a few other voice, and all these types of things. So I had done a few workshops and I got to do Awake. But then I was thinking, okay, if I keep on doing workshops, it's like I keep on taking guitar lessons, but I never actually play the guitar. And what's the point in taking guitar lessons if you're not going to actually play? And how do I get to play? It's by acting. But who's going to get me to act? I mean, I got this break. It was wonderful, but it's not happening every other day. Not everybody knows me. I'm also I wasn't very inclined into going into walking into castings and going to casting agencies and doing that whole thing because I already had a very busy life and I didn't feel like doing that. So I thought about it and I rationalized that. I said, who would need me as an actor? And I said, okay, students who are studying, they need actors for their short films and their projects. So I started looking for those casting calls by students and I used to go to them. I went to first year student projects, second year graduation projects. But I figured, again, a lot of rationalizing is that these guys, they're learning, so they're making mistakes. I'm learning, I'm making mistakes. So we'll just tolerate each other. I mean, they'll be okay with me not being great because I'm doing it for free, and they're learning, and I have to be okay with them making mistakes and the shoot not going very well, and things dragging, and all these things that come with it. And I said, okay, this is gonna be my hobby for now. Like I had collected stamps, I had collected matchboxes. So like, okay, I'm over those hobbies. I'll do this new one now. And it felt good. I enjoyed the process of taking on a character and acting it. This was something I really
It
liked.
sounds like which is a really clever idea. I mean, if I were to turn this into advice for somebody who's starting out, is that first and foremost, you need money to pay your bills, surely, and you had that. But what I'm hearing from you is practice. And to practice, you kind of need to start on your own, and nobody's paying you because you are making mistakes. And so I think it's very clever that you were able to use student films, and they need you just as much as you need them. And so it's kind of like a good for both of you. It's a symbiotic relationship where
Yeah, and
they
I
didn't.
wouldn't, I wouldn't take money from students, even if they offered. Some of them offered. I wouldn't, because I assumed. I mean, it was my code. I said I have a job, I have an income. I don't need to take money from students. When they offered, I said like put it back in the film, make it better. And I did this for a very long time until I became, I'm not going to say known, relatively known, and within the acting circles, and I started getting pushback from other actors that you shouldn't be doing this for free. You're hurting us. You're not a nobody anymore. So they're gonna go assume
Oh,
that actor.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
when the shift came when your passion and your hobby becomes a not a I don't want to say the not the right word is job, but a yeah,
Occupation. Yeah.
professional and occupy. Yes, it is arts. It continues to be art, but at some point it becomes an occupation. It becomes a career. It becomes part of a business, and that's important that the business is paying people the craft that they're doing. And it's a really challenging thing to talk about when we talk about art, which is somebody who is a writer, for instance. When you first graduate, you're supposed to get a job, right? But as a writer, you need to have writing, and to have writing, you need to write. And so to get a job. And so it's a challenging
Chicken egg.
exactly, but it is a gap. There's a small gap. Every other job, perhaps you get an entry level job as a computer scientist in a firm. You get an entry level job as a lawyer in a firm or whatever. Every other place has these steps. Whereas when it comes to things that you produce and build, or things like the arts, like acting and creating characters and things like this, there is this gap where you need experience, and so for someone to hire you, but nobody will hire you if you don't have experience. So it's like this, like a big loop. And so you found a way to kind of close the gap, or make it shorter, or make it more efficient, which is kind of a cool.
I kind of jump started it in a way. So like to get things moving in that area. And
Yeah.
doing stuff for students, that's how I got my first feature film. So the production company came into a university, and they said like, we need a person, these specs, this age group. So like 2, 3 students across the room, they pop up and they all say my name. I mean, a different, like, that guy, that guy. And the next day, the production company is calling me and they're like, hey, we want to see you. We have a feature film we're filming. Might have a role, a tiny role, extremely small, but it's a feature film, which is like something I never imagined I'd be in. I was in a feature film. And then, it's kind of paid forward. The fact I did those jobs and those acting gigs.
And I think this kind of advice really, I know you weren't meaning to give advice, but it really hits me as such, because this kind of advice is so important, since in any field, like you're talking about acting in particular, design, fashion, writing, whatever it might be, is this kind of idea that you're doing it as a second job without being paid for it. You take it just as seriously, and you have this faith. You don't know how. I mean, when whatever version of that phone call that you got for the feature film, that you're going to get the phone call. If you just keep going, keep pushing, keep practicing, keep as a second job that nobody pays you, that someday it will become something that pays you, or a job, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so I wanted just to add something to this because I don't know if it's related, it's a generational thing, but I mean, we grew up always having, university and a job, school and a summer job. And, I used to go to school sometimes even in winter. And when my dad didn't have anyone to help him in the business, he was a car mechanic. I used to go down and work with him in the evening so that he can have an extra pair of hands helping him. So I think this, I don't know if, again, I don't know if it's generational or just, circumstances that put this, but this idea of like, yeah, you can do more than one thing at a time. It shouldn't overwhelm you. You have to segregate in your mind, and it's fine. You just take what you learn from it. You learn stuff from everything you do, and this probably helped propel me into this approach.
Oh, there is a question that Hind asked me. Hind, my lovely producer, is here with us today. This is funny. She said, what's the oddest job that you've had, and how these jobs and acting, what are some of the learnings that you took, the knowledge that you took that helped you across the board? So we heard definitely a DJ, which was funny, car mechanic, which was so cool. And so then, like, how do these all mix into the person that you are today, and then your passion for acting?
Well, these jobs, they expose you to different environments and different types of people. And as an observer, I tend to observe a lot. I mean, even there was once I was out at an event with someone, and they're like, someone else came, like, is he okay? Because he's sitting there looking at everyone. And then I didn't, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I do this. I used to like
You're
to
not
sit there.
supposed to get caught.
Yeah,
That's the big
exactly.
secret. You're supposed to just sit there and see if you can observe without getting caught.
So I think the way they help, I mean, they did help me, like you get exposed to all types of people when you start doing jobs, not just school and stuff like this. So you learn to, real life, how real life works, how people operate, but also you, as an actor, as someone who embodies a character or even writes it sometimes, uh, you get to learn how different people in life act. I mean, in the car mechanic world, I used to work with the guys who used to work at the shop, with the customers that came in, and they were from different walks of life, high income, low income people, people with accents, people with the prejudice, people who don't have people sometimes with physical difficulties, and you soak that in everywhere. In the radio world, you had the upbeat life and the glamour, and used to get invited to concerts, and you met celebrities sometimes who came in for interviews and do that. And I like to think that I took in from each of those jobs whatever I was comfortable doing and whatever I didn't want. I tend to work in my life by elimination more than by choice. So like I don't set up like I want to do this, and then everything has to funnel into that. I set out with nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then one of the odd jobs I did, side jobs I did one summer, I worked at a computer company, but not in programming, which was I was studying. It was like hardware. They used to put two computers together and sell them back in the days of the desktops, those huge ones. So I kind of worked helping them do this, and I didn't even get to do all the parts because they were like specific about who does what. But I mean, I looked at it, I learned from it, I listened to the guys how they work, I understood how the power dynamics in companies work, so that I was ready when I got in. And on top of that, since I did that summer job, I got a discount at the end of summer where the money I made, I bought my first computer from it.
I'll take that job. Yeah, I think what you guys are talking about has a lot of factors, and the only reason I can think of that it might be generational has something to do with technology and the way the world has changed, and the fact that maybe we have ability to get things right away. Meaning, like, if I want something, I just order it online and it comes right away. I don't have to wait. I don't have to be patient. And with something like art and your passion, it takes so much faith and so much patience and so much perseverance and so much, maybe you don't need a second job, for instance, because we're talking that maybe this is generational, but it's also wealth, it's also status, it's also so many personalities. Some people, if they don't need another job, they have all the money they need, they would still take on 3 jobs. And some people can't, and some people have different types of personalities and characters. So the generational part, I always think of the instance of everything. Everything's instant.
Look at photography. I noticed this with photography. I mean, we used to save those shots because like we had like 30 shots in a film that, you can't do more, sometimes 24, depending on the film and the camera you're using. And I see this still with me now. So if I look between me and younger generations, like my niece or any, and you'll see them, if I look at their, sometimes I get the chance and we're looking at photos and it's like the photo feed on the phone is like bursts of shots. They have like 20 shots of the same thing. Whereas if I look at my own phone, I'll like look at the shot 20 times before actually taking it, and I'll have like 1 or 2 takes of this shot. And it's just so ingrained in me. It's like, this is like, you just don't have the access to it. So I'll take my time taking a photo, and I'll not just waste it, because I don't know, in the back of my mind, it's like you just frame it well, give it time, let it simmer. Whereas they'll just take 20 shots and then one of
Put
them
it in
is
the
not to be
dark
good.
room bath.
Yeah, I did that.
I also did that. Yes, sir. I also cut my own film as I did the montage with actual cutting. This is a really interesting topic because while like there's so many factors, but at the end of the day, like we said, like we're all saying, it takes patience and perseverance and the idea that there is faith and not just that, the maybe instilling or just using each other's advice. Because what I really like is what I've learned from you today, Patrick, which is there are some logical and rational ways of going about this very emotional process. It's like, when you love something, you said you got bitten by the bug, like you could, that is in a high emotional state. You got bitten by the bug. You were like, I'm on stage. It's amazing. It's so much. I can't even describe it. The thrill is just top. And so to want to chase that thrill and then to be also able to come back down to earth and be rational and be logical and say, what do I need? 2 jobs. This is what I have to do. These are why these jobs are good for me. And balance that out with the passion of continuing to go and the blind faith, because passion and faith and the love and all that, those are just not rational at all and not logical. So it does feel good that what I learned from you today was if you're balancing that, you can keep going. You can survive. You can survive and get to the other side of your passion.
I mean, if I don't do this, I wouldn't be doing half of the stuff I've achieved so far. I mean, my first film, the short film I did, is like I couldn't have produced it or done anything with it if I didn't have this side job where I was able to, I didn't need to go get funds. I need to go do anything, I didn't need to beg for people to come work for free and all that. I just, because I had this capacity. And at the time when I did the films, it was like, I either take a vacation this year and I travel, or I do the film. So we have a film now.
It's called Clothesline.
Yes.
And I remember receiving the script.
Yeah.
And I remember when Patrick said, I think I need to search for a director.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, no one can direct this but you. There's no need. I have to mention this before we say goodbye to you, is that another thing that I've learned from you throughout all these years that we've known each other is the importance of, and I know you would not call yourself that, which is why I'm not asking it as a question, the importance of courage and bravery to throw yourself into something. And from what we've talked about, you said, no, I'm really scared. I just prepare. So again, I like your rationalization when you throw yourself in. So I could take a vacation, or I could do this film, this is going to help me with my public speaking. Those rationalizations are also helping you with that fear and the amount of courage it takes to just throw yourself in there. So before we say goodbye, I just wanted everyone to know that Patrick is also adapted a play from English, adapted it into Arabic. I had the privilege of watching that play. It was really fun. You've also made that short film. You've also written a feature film where you acted inside it based on 12 Angry Men. You've also, you should come in and what else can we say? There's a lot more. And these are all, I'm mentioning these because these are all, yes, there's acting. You have a lot of acting gigs and acting on stage for other people, acting for yourself, producing. Yeah, but all of them have a different umbrella, a different hat that you wear for the industry. And you just said, okay, I wear this hat now. Okay, I do this. And that takes that leap takes bravery and courage. And
like I'm wearing right now, I just started trying out open mics for stand-up comedy. Okay, same logic. I watch a lot of this, so I went to open mics to see how others try out, and I figured, I could do this. Even if these guys are coming up, and sometimes you're not laughing, and they're okay with it, so I can be okay with it. And I think growing up is also like, getting older, actually, not saying growing up, because I'm at the point where I'm growing older, not growing up. Growing older gives us a different perspective on time. And the less you have of that, the more you want to do stuff so that you don't miss out.
That's a very fair point, although I'm not sure I will ever be able to face a lonely microphone on a stage like that. That is truly brave. So, Patrick, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. As we say goodbye, I just want to say, I from the outside, I think you have your shit together. And that's the title of our episode 2 is Get Your Shit Together. For me, it looks like you have your shit together. Is that what you believe?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And this is wonderful getting to talk about all this. I don't think we ever really should feel that we have our shit together. We can be okay with whatever we're doing. But for me, if one day I feel like, I have it all figured out, it's the day where I'm stop doing whatever I'm doing. It's like, I'll be lost. I wouldn't know. So I think we're always pursuing something. And the second we stop doing that is that like life becomes boring. And I understand people who like feel bored because I don't think they're pursuing anything. No judgment, just I think that's a matter of how things evolve for some people.
Thanks for saying that. I will embrace not having my shit together while having my shit together in some way. Thanks a lot, Patrick. I appreciate you today. And thank you everyone for listening. This podcast is brought to you by CMS, yours truly, Nadia Tabbara, and of course, my beautiful and lovely producer, Hind Anabtawi. Thank you so much for listening to my unscripted conversations, and make sure you listen to the scripted part too. It's after all called Scripted Unscripted. So anyway, thank you so much. Bye.